Back with another video. Now, President Biden pardons his son Hunter Biden. Now, how do I feel about that? Well, as you know, there is a lesson in everything, and there's a few lessons in this, or a few points I want to bring up to y'all. So it don't surprise me, and it shouldn't surprise you. On the surface, first glance, what parent wouldn't extend their hand or use they might or their power to bail their son or daughter out in trouble? First glance. So in that and by that point that shouldn't surprise you at all. So and before I continue, I'm going to talk a little bit about Hunter Biden. From all accounts, let's say Hunter Biden is a real people person. You liable to see Hunter Biden in the drug tank, or the drunk holding tank on the Santa Rita bus or something. Hunter Biden, he really out there in the streets from all accounts. And I guess Hunter was in another jam, and it appears he federal gun charges and federal tax evasion. Now, so them not lightweight charges. I mean, them will get the average person, citizen, jailed federally, especially them tax evasion. They don't play when it comes to that. So now, again, Joe bails his son out. So the thing here is, it's like no different than LeBron and his son. A lot of people was feeling some type of way about that. It don't surprise me, and don't get me wrong, in all situations that ain't cool, but it happens in all walks of life, from the lowest level to the top level. So naturally, and that's another thing I want to point out, you want your children to have it better than you. Now that doesn't mean to spoil them and don't teach them, to struggle and not to be wasteful and all that. Of course, you want them to be disciplined, but at the same time, you want them to have a better life. Certain hurdles you had to jump, you don't want them to have to jump. I mean, that's just natural, and that's the way it should be. So, and this is in majority of instances, but in this particular instance, I'll just put it like this. It's pros and cons. So I kind of mentioned the pros. Now the cons would be as far as the law can be taken advantage of. And that's pretty much the main point. And this is why people got a legitimate reason to feel some type of way about Joe Biden doing that. But it just goes to show, in America, man, hey, how much freedom can you afford? Or if you know the right people. It's pretty much that simple. Now, that doesn't make it right. And that necessarily don't make it wrong either, because quite naturally you want the best for your child. And Joe Biden, he made a little heartfelt comment like, I hope y'all understand I believe in the law and this and this and that, and I hope y'all understand basically how a father would feel helping his son. And yeah, I do. But we all know, because if it was me, my ass would be in jail. Or if it was you, depending on who you are watching this, but you get my point. But that's really what I want to bring up when it comes to the whole Biden pardoning his son situation. Again, that definitely not going to surprise me, and it shouldn't surprise you. He's going to do that. And it's definitely quite unethical because it's blatant, but it's done all the time. For better or for worse, it's done all the time. Now, honestly, well, he's the president, so they can do that, so it really don't matter. It really doesn't matter, and you can utilize that too. I mean, we do utilize that, but that's just how things work. But again, that doesn't make it right just because you did that. And in a situation to where it's okay, you want to put your son or daughter in a certain position knowing they ain't qualified, that of course was going to do more harm than good. More harm to them for one, and more harm to the overall goal, whatever that may be. But in this particular case, even if Biden was the judge or a lawyer, of course, a hotshot lawyer, you're going to step in and do what you can for your son. Now, don't get me wrong, you got some parents, hey man, tough love. Hey, you got to learn on your own. You definitely got that, and it's a time and place for all that. But if you was to ask me, is that right, is that wrong? I can't say, because, again, it may not necessarily be a recommended practice, but it all depends on the situation. Now, will I help my child out if they're in a situation like that? Hell yeah. Now, of course, that was going to depend on the relationship I may have with that child at that time, but 9 times out of 10, 9 times 0.9, I'm going to do that. And then they may have to deal with me personally. But as far as when it comes to that, but it all depends. But again, so, and you think about that. You let me know. Would you help your son out if he was in that situation? Well, it all depends. I'm sure you would say that. But again, that don't make it right. But hey, man, only in America. Well, no, that's everywhere. But you get my point. So, if anything, that should let you know, man, this is how they playing the game. This is how the game been being played when it comes to how much freedom you can afford. So obviously the trick is to get you and yours in a position to where life gets better. Not only for you, but your offspring. So they ain't gotta go through the stuff you go through. And I'm not talking about just in big situations. I'm even saying, hey man, you at a restaurant and you got poor service, or anywhere, so you call in customer service, and man, you don't want your son to go through that, although that's life. You're gonna encounter people like that, but you know what? We gonna create our own to where they ain't gotta deal with that. Whatever the situation is. This kind of goes along with, man, you want something done right, do it yourself, whether on an individual basis or a collective basis. So, but I ain't trying to go too deep down a rabbit hole on y'all though, but that's really the main point I take from the whole Biden thing, man. What's the word? Nepotism? Oh, well, that's what it is. It happens in all walks of life, so I'm not necessarily mad about it. If anything, I'm kind of, hey man, see, I told y'all, hey man, we got to recognize the type of games being played out here, for better or for worse. Yeah, man, that's what I make of it, pretty much. You know, nothing more, nothing less. It happens. So, and it's going to continue to happen. Now, of course, we can't let it be too blatant or too gross of a miscarriage. Now, of course, if Hunter did something supremely flagrant to where it superseded even his father's power, like if he just did something just too out in the open and too, you get what I'm saying, then it ain't nothing his daddy can do, pretty much. So there is, there is a limit when it comes to that. But yet again, though, it happens. So what you need to do is just understand what's going on, peep, and make adjustments.